Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome to America's Heroes Group, our roundtable with our community outreach with Yale University Veterans Legal Services Clinic. Today is Saturday, April 1st, 2023. April is Sexual Assault Month, Minority Health, and Autism Awareness Month. You just heard our host, Cliff Kelley, at the top of the hour. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Executive producer Glenda Smith. Our digital media producers, Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have a panelist with us today. That's Sullivan. She's a law student intern at the Yale Veterans Legal Service Clinic. And Adam Henderson. He's also a law student and an intern at Yale Veterans Legal Clinic. And we're going to talk about Yale's Veterans Legal Service Clinic, their studies and research and findings with the Monk versus the United States and the black veteran disparities and how they've been treated with benefits and the like. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sean. Thanks so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
Our pleasure. So tell us a little bit of background about the Monk case. We've had his brother on our show before, but we want to get into a little bit more detail so people that may not be aware of his situation. Tell us who Monk was or is and what happened in his situation as a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, absolutely. So our client, Conley Monk Jr., is a black Vietnam veteran who was improperly denied education, housing, and disability benefits after he was discharged from the military due to PTSD in 1970. And he was improperly denied benefits until 2015. So he lost out on decades of potential money and opportunities as a result of that situation. And Mr. Monk and other Black service members kind of suspected racial biases and inequities within the VA for decades, but they weren't able to prove it. And so in February 2021, Mr. Monk's organization, which is the National Veterans Council for Legal Redress, joined the Black Veterans Project and worked with our clinic to file a Freedom of Information Act request with the VA, through which we sought information about the administration of service-connected disability compensation. And that kind of confirmed the suspicions that that veterans and veterans organizations had for decades about these inequities within the VA. So those documents showed a statistically significant difference in VA claim outcomes between white and black veterans. And so our lawsuit is on behalf of Mr. Monk, basically seeking reparations from the VA for those kind of decades of racial bias that Mr. Monk experienced.
So, Adam, can you tell us a little bit about how pervasive this problem was throughout history? And is it still a problem today with veterans that return home from Afghanistan, people that have returned home from Iraq, the current conflicts? Is this something that's still going on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not something that is limited just to the Conley Monk era. This is something that is currently going on in the VA. We have data that shows that there is still a difference between claim outcomes between black and white veterans. And it's also gone back as far as Conley Monk's father. So Conley Monk Sr., Conley Monk's, our client's father, also experienced veteran benefit denials. And that shows that this is pervasive throughout the decades, and showing that black veterans are being treated as second class to their white counterparts. So they went and died on the battlefield. They served honorably, but then when they get home, they're treated differently based on their race.
And what were some of the tactics that were used to deny veterans, black veterans and minority veterans, their benefits? What kind of things were done to somehow hide this or mask this from the public for years and years?
Right. So it's essentially the VA not taking into account things that impact black veterans more. So, for example, black vets are more often discharged with a less than honorable discharge, and then the VA, for Mr. Monk, kept denying him veterans benefits based on that initial outcome. And when he asked for it to be, relooked at, they didn't. And Mr. Monk highly suspects that that's because of his race. So not taking veterans at their word. The clinic works with black veterans all the time who are, viewed as lesser than by psychologists and psychiatrists and by people at the VA who don't believe their symptoms. And, a white veteran would be a lot more likely to have a VA claims adjuster believe them or, think that what they're saying is true. So these are some of the tactics that they use. And also, one big thing that the VA did is the absence of a clear way to track claims outcomes based on race. So they knew about this problem. We have recent FOIA documents that show that people at the highest level of VA knew that there was a difference between Black and white veterans' outcomes, and they chose to do nothing about it. So it's that active denying Black veterans their benefits, but it's also the passive choosing to do nothing about a problem that has been suspected by Black veterans for years.
Claire, this turns my stomach to hear these problems. I mean, it's really sickening for the idea that a person could serve in the military, put their life on the line, and then go through such racial just inequity. It doesn't make any sense to me from a perspective that after all these years, this is 2023, we're still seeing these types of problems. So can you tell me a little bit about what your clinic is doing and how you guys are trying to right that wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest kind of first step is this lawsuit. And so we are, we've sued the VA. And so our goal is that we can get not only compensation for Mr. Monk as a result of this, but that this can kind of send a message to the VA that something needs to change, and the VA needs to be taking, affirmative steps to fix this problem, not just for Mr. Monk, but for every Black veteran who has experienced this kind of discrimination. And it's also, our clinic is also kind of, doing things like this and making sure that the press is aware and that we're kind of, holding the VA accountable through public opinion and through, media outreach, because it's just, I think this is, from the veterans we've spoken to, it seems like it's an issue that a lot of people know is happening, but they don't have the kind of numbers to prove it. And now those numbers exist. And so we want to make sure that if Black veterans suspect this is happening, they have all the information available to them to take steps to, maybe file their own lawsuits, maybe try to seek help for this in their own ways. And again, just hold the VA accountable.
And then, Claire, can you tell me what would you recommend the VA do? As if evidently you've known about this for many, many years, but they haven't done anything about it. What changes do they need to make in order to keep this from happening again?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big important first step is making sure that, as Adam mentioned, data collection efforts are disaggregated by race. So we are actually able to see what the differences in racial outcomes are going forward. And the VA has recently announced a new equity team, which is, intended to kind of fix some of these problems. And obviously, we hope that this equity team will accomplish this. But we obviously are aware that the VA has a poor history of, honoring those commitments to racial justice and equity. So we hope that this equity team actually does kind of take the necessary steps to ensure that Black veterans aren't experiencing this type of discrimination going forward.
So we've talked to people from the Black Veterans Project as well, and they talked about a lot of the disparities how the benefits have been doled out between Black and white veterans. What would you say to those people out there who feel they've been discriminated against? What are their first steps? What would you recommend they do in order to try to get some of the benefits that have passed? And also, from what I understand, a lot of the benefits that were missed from veterans who earned them, a lot of these veterans have passed on. They've passed away. They've died. That being said, do they have beneficiaries who can receive these benefits if the person who actually served didn't get the benefits? And that's for Adam or Claire.
Yeah, so I can take this one. So I think that the first thing that a veteran should do is go through the channels provided by the VA. That is like the first step. If you feel like you've been wrongly denied, there are appeals processes in place that are, going to start the process on this. And that's the first step. And I know that a lot of veterans feel that, this system is rigged against them, is not going to take them into account. And that's what we're trying to address at a high level here. And so this lawsuit that we have right now is just for our individual client, Conley Monk. However, it could turn into a class action down the road where other veterans can get involved. And there are some steps that a veteran could take to get in touch with the clinic to join that potential class action if it comes. And I don't want to get anybody's hopes up of, joining a class or suing the VA by yourself, because that's not where the clinic is right now. But we do have an email address if you want to get in contact with us. I can give that out now, or we can give it to you later, whatever you think is the best way to go about that.
Go ahead, give that email out to us so we can get that out there.
Yeah, of course. So if a veteran is interested in just seeing what their options are or reaching out to the clinic, they can reach out to us at ftca.veterans@ylsclinics.org. So I'll give that one more time. It's ftca.veterans@ylsclinics.org. So if someone wants to reach out to the clinic, they can drop us a line at that email address, and someone from our team will get back to you.
And that's Foxtrot Tango Charlie Alpha. What was the last part?
Veterans, so VETERANS.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Yep.
So could a beneficiary of a veteran get awarded any kind of missed claims or compensation?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that we're doing for a few people. We've heard people say, my father got denied for years. Also, our client, Conley Monk, his father, like we mentioned, was denied benefits for years, and Conley is Mr. Monk Sr.'s beneficiary. So we're also potentially seeing what options we have for beneficiaries. So, if it's your father, grandfather, someone like that, and you're the beneficiary for them, reach out to us, and we can see what we can do if this becomes a class action.
Claire Sullivan's a law student and intern at Yale University, and Adam Henderson, also a law student. Both work with the Veterans Legal Services Clinic at Yale University. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your work and effort to try to make things right for this country.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us on. Bye.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.